Welcome, everybody, to the Baseball Blueprint Podcast, your home for all things player development, where we highlight some of the best instructors in the game. Today, we're throwing a little bit of a twist. We haven't done this before, and I think this is super needed for a lot of the listeners. We're going to talk recruiting. I think initially when I started this podcast, I was a little hesitant to dive into this space. But with how much mobility's happened in that space, I think it's super necessary. So today we are pleased to have Caleb Cox here from Sports Force. He's a recruiting advisor there. Caleb, thanks for coming on, man. This is awesome.
Man, Cody, I appreciate you having me on and getting to share the space. And I enjoy talking baseball and enjoy talking to good baseball people as well. So thank you so much for having me on board and fired up to just talk baseball and try to educate some student athletes and families throughout this process.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is going to be great for those guys who are kind of starting the recruiting process, or even guys who feel a little bit lost in that process, right? So, diving into question one, and I think from me as someone who's been out of this process for a little bit now, I'd love to know what are some common questions you're getting? What are some scenarios that you're seeing from a lot of the clients that are working through your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's boy, it's a extremely evolving landscape, as I'm sure you are very familiar with the rules and regulations that have shifted, that has adjusted that not just the timeline of college recruiting for the different levels, but in addition to it, how it's affecting player development profiles as well. And now student athletes are having to alter their processes, whether it's on the hill, on the diamond, on the defensive side of things, at the dish. I'm a catching guy, so our guys behind the dish, they get to wear the gear. It's changed a lot of things because college coaches are demanding different things than they were, even just 15 months ago, 16 months ago. As far as like some of the common things that we see, and mostly the student athletes that come to us, the number one question is kind of how late is too late. We try to be very guarded with the families and the student athletes that we talk to, and try to provide them with the most truth that we possibly can in a generous and gentle way. But sometimes if your goal is to play at that power four level and you're halfway through your junior year and you don't have anybody talking to you, it's you're fighting an uphill battle, and you better do something pretty special pretty quick in order to be that guy. After we kind of get through that, how late is too late? It's like, okay, what do we need to do next? And then from there, we kind of dive into some next steps on, how we evaluate the student athletes and work with them. At Sports Force, our advisors, we work with a very, very small network and very select number of student athletes. So it allows us to be extremely personable with the not just the student athlete and their individual recruiting journey, but as well the family that we're walking through this process with as well. And so after we complete that evaluation process and say like, okay, yes, this is a student athlete and a family that I would feel comfortable working with on my roster for the next, 6 months to up to 4 years, sometimes 5 years in some cases, depending on how old the student athlete is when they're starting to interact with us. And then we just build a game plan based on that age, based on the player profile, and then based on the goals that they have. And once we identify those goals, now it's just a matter of following the roadmap and then adjusting that map as rules and regulations continue to change.
Yeah, man. Wow. And having had some feet in that space prior, I know how often those rules change, and it's really difficult to stay on top of all that as well. So kudos to you guys for doing that. But as we dive in more towards the impact that this is having on player development, what are you seeing from the pitching side? Are there certain metrics that are I guess becoming more important, or are we still seeing the same, like, hey, we need velocity and pitchability at the highest levels? Because at least from the outside looking in, it seems like things can happen later now, right? Just because of the way of the transfer portal, and we don't need to go sign a freshman or sophomore in high school for a Power Four school. We can wait, right? It's not going to be a miss. We can go snag a mid major guy who popped off, right?
Correct. And it's, with the social media boom that we've had and the data metric boom that we've had with, all of the ball flight tracking technologies and all of the new, I mean, shoot, the torpedo bat that came out two
Yeah.
days ago. Like we've got all sorts of new tools and gadgets that people are using now. But yeah, like on the pitching side, it's, velocity is kind of that first thing that college coaches are looking to check. And if we can't check the velocity box at that power four level, you know, unfortunately, that's kind of the profile that we've been seeing and what coaches are telling us now. Right after that, it's a very quick question, like you mentioned, of can the guy get people out? Because the transfer portal is full of guys that are 92 to 96 with a breaking ball but something's going on, whether it's command of the fastball, whether it's fastball life, breaking ball command, something is off. There's a reason they're in there. However, the trend that we've seen, I mean, last year with over 55% of college baseball entering the transfer portal at some point during the summer, the summer session alone, college baseball is getting older than ever, and it's getting more competitive than ever. And now we've had roster size reductions as well. So, a lot of these older programs, these bigger, more established programs with deeper pockets are, profiling more towards kind of like a New York Yankees system where they're going and buying the best, most established talent, signing them to 1 to 2 year contracts, and then trying to win now. And some of those
Yeah.
mid majors are going more of like the St. Louis Cardinals route or like the LA Dodgers route, where they're trying to homegrown guys and they're trying to get the high school guys that normally might have snuck into that Power Four school, but now because of the roster reductions and just the landscape of college baseball as a whole, they're now in a position to where they can go and get that high school arm that's 92, 94. But because he's 18 and he's not 21 or 22, that's a guy that slips to the mid major now.
Yeah. And it's funny, like we look at the trickle down that started happening post COVID, especially with the 1 year back to those athletes who wanted to go maybe start a master's program or get a 1 year master's program and find somewhere where they could maybe get more playing time. Maybe they want to make a jump, whatever that case may be. But now we start to see a change due to the portal where you can almost treat a mid-major like a junior college, right? You're taking your gen eds. They're going to transfer in most cases. And so initially my first thought is, as someone who's much more ignorant to the space than I ought to be at the moment, but you look at the junior college and there's definitely value there. And I was a junior college guy, but to me, there's a little bit less value for that qualifier. So if you're a non-qualifier, I think the value still stands as a junior college option. It's very viable for that player. But to be honest with you, if you're that undersized guy, or if you're the guy who, like you said, maybe just kind of snuck through the cracks, I don't see JC as an option as much anymore. And I'm sure there's programs that are still thriving, and I know of programs that are still thriving who have great cultures and stuff like that. But off the rip in my head, it's like, why would you not go to where you might have more resources? Why would you not go to somewhere where, you might be getting paid even, right?
No, absolutely. And former junior college coach. My last gig was I was very blessed to be the head coach at Garden City Community College in Garden City, Kansas, and absolutely loved my time. And it was right before this roster restriction came down, and it was a situation to where we were identifying it as a coaching staff to where, like, you know. How do we want our roster to look like now? We're going to have a ridiculous amount of student athletes that are going to be making a run for the junior college route with this potential waiver that's going to court. So now you can,
Yeah.
in theory, play college baseball for 2 years at a junior college and not lose any eligibility, which in my opinion, there's two values in it. One, if that legislation does indeed go to court and it does pass and it does hold up and you do get those 2 years, that's going to bring the competitiveness of junior college back in. For two reasons, in my opinion, on that one. The first one, getting 2 additional years of college baseball. With the draft getting cut down as well on the professional side, it allows guys those 2 more years to develop and also increase draft opportunities as really as a 19 and a 20-year-old, and then being draft eligible as a 21-year-old freshman. That's additional door. Additionally, for some higher academic student athletes that are looking to get that master's degree while still on scholarship, if you can get
Yeah.
your associates in 2 years, your bachelor's in 2 years, and then take your master's in 2 years, you're talking about 6 years of college baseball without having to, pay a lot of money to get a master's degree. So definitely a big benefit there. But as far as, if you're not in one of those two niches on the pro prospect side or on the very high academic pursuing a master's degree side, I'm with you 100%, Cody. Like, the junior college route is tough, for those exact reasons. And now at the Division II level, you can play up to 30% of your games,
Which is
without
wild.
losing.
And that's something I found out last year. How crazy is that?
It's unbelievable that they had adopted that rule. I mean, what was it, about 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago that came out, and it's
Yeah.
just. I mean, like, I'm 29 right now, and if I had had all of these rules and had been playing through this time, I'd be playing my super 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 senior year this year against 18-year-old freshmen, which is just
How
terrifying to think
wild is that?
about.
That is wild, and so you look at all these different landscape changes, and it's not like this is the first time this has happened. I mean, the college game has been changing forever, but I think this is the first time where we start to feel like it's a little bit more of a business. I think there was always that underlying thought, at least the highest levels, where like the bigger money schools are going to win. They're going to be able to buy the better resources, and that's held true. But now it's so tactile, like they have more money to pay the player, right? And I think the energy in college athletics has changed. Not that it wasn't cutthroat previously, because it was, but now you're seeing, especially on the coaching side too, like this revolving door of coaches who, like, if you can't win right now, right? And so, at least from the coaching standpoint, from what I've seen, it's like we're putting a priority on bringing in that transfer guy who's already proven, right? And I think they're the freshmen that can come in and play at the college level, at any level. I'm talking NAIA, D3, D2, D1, whatever,
Mhm.
JUCO. It's really tough to do. The speed of the game is so fast, and you've got to play at a ridiculously high level of high school ball, especially in your summer circuit, to try to keep up with that. And even then, like your competitors don't have the same amount of playing time, right? You don't have the same IQs on the other side of the ball, so the speed of that game changes, and I think I don't think that's something we're going to lose as this process goes on. But in your experience and in your view, do you feel like this kind of ability to float as a player is a good thing in terms of the long run for the game, or a negative? Because to be truthfully told, I don't know where I stand on this yet.
And I think I'm right there with you. I don't know where I stand.
Yeah.
Like, is it really fun? Like in Omaha, when you're seeing basically the next wave of big leaguers rolling out there with the best 8 college teams that money can buy.
Right.
That's pretty good baseball. And those ticket prices at a, what is it, Schwab Field now? It used to be TD Ameritrade. I
Yeah.
forget what it is off the top of my head. Like, the tickets for those are going to go through the roof. So like the business
Yeah.
side of baseball is tremendous. It's a great opportunity to be, in the finance and business side of college baseball. The downside of it is, like, as an alumni, it's really kind of polarizing. Like the tradition of, like, some of these rivalries is kind of going away, just because everyone's bouncing away. Like, you don't go to the same school and you just hate playing that, the team up
Yep.
north, or, that
Right.
team down south, or the team across the street, for 4 years, and you just build that rivalry. And, like, as an alumni, like, that kind of edge and that almost hatred towards somebody else is kind of gone. And on the flip side of it, if you are an alumni, you know, you're probably getting hit up by coaches saying, like, hey, how about you donate to our NIL fund so we can
Right.
continue to be competitive? And it's nothing wrong about that, because that, brings us full circle back to the
Right.
business side of college baseball right there. And it's, money talks at the end of the day.
One is it's funny. I just as speculating, right? I kind of want to dive into um, the wave that's happening when you look at some of the schools, especially up north, where the money's a little bit lower and football is a little bit more of a priority.
Mm-hmm.
It's really difficult financially for these teams to stay competitive, and you start to see, especially lower level teams or lower funded universities, start to lose their baseball programs. And I hate seeing that period. But you look at the way the sport's played. You look at when it's played. Right? If you're a team up north and you're not south for your first 3 weekends, like, you've got a really high chance of missing out on a ton of games. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's this really awkward spot, especially for schools in the north, where the money's really not there. Even in Power Four schools, you look at some of the Power Four schools up here, and it's just not. They're not going to be able to compete the same way, especially on the pitching side. Um, and it's a little bit worrying to me, because when you see the lack of competition, ultimately I think there's going to be mobility in the conferences, and we've already seen that a little bit with Oregon and Washington and UCLA teams coming over to the Big Ten, and this mobility between the conferences. But you see that a ton now too, with, like, Johns Hopkins just made the announcement they're joining the Ivy League next year. So it's like there's this big time mobility in terms of, like, groups who want to invest more into their athletics, and you can see that jump's happening versus the other end of the spectrum, where it's like, okay, we're going to really prioritize academics now. And in the junior college I went to, and then this happened a couple years ago, but, like, they don't have a baseball program anymore. They wanted to prioritize the academics and weren't huge fans of the athletic side of things, and it's painful to see. But I wonder, as someone who kind of has a little bit more of a finger on the pulse of this thing, would you anticipate more of that happening on a more large scale now that the finances are becoming even larger of a factor in the competition aspect of this?
Boy, I think it's going to create a divide right down the middle, and it's going to force athletic directors to show their hands on what sports they like and which ones are their second tier. You know,
I agree. Yeah.
it's I mean, either you're going to fork over the money to fund the program and fund the scholarships and really try to make a move for baseball to be competitive, or you're not. And it's, unfortunately, gone are the days of amateurism. At the end of the day,
Right.
like it's, amateurism ends when you leave high school. And even, you probably see it on the, with on the player development side with,
Yeah.
the amount of data tracking and ball flight tracking technologies that even these high school and club and even youth organizations are rolling out now. It's incredible. Like, you know,
Yeah, I mean it's pretty rare when we have a pitcher who's not on TrackMan. I mean it's like not that it's a must have, but man, if we have it, why not, right? So I
mm-hmm.
think that you hit the nail on the head, like that the accessibility to advanced data and like if you're a university who's not kind of caught up in the terms of like the analytics side of things and you don't have like an ops guy who can help you out or players who can track stuff, you're way behind the eight ball. I mean, it's really tough to stay competitive in that environment because it is such an advantage. So let's veer off here, guys. Just a quick shout out to our partners here with the Baseball Bluebook app. Make sure to check them out. It's a free app if you're a player looking to get involved with camps, coaches, instructors. You'll have vendors on there as well, so check that out. For those of you guys who are interested in training equipment, make sure to check out Valley Sporting Goods and Heater Sports. They're our sponsors for today's video, so check them out. You'll have access to discount codes Blueprint 10 for Valley Sports and code BLUE for Heater Sports. All right, so Caleb, diving back into more towards your experience now, because I want to hear a little bit about your route. Talk to us about how you ended up with Sports Force and a little bit about your journey as a coach turning into a recruiting advisor here.
Yeah, it's boy, it's been a whirlwind, and my wife is probably the coolest and best person ever because it's about every 12 months I hit her up with the, hey, what do you think about moving again?
Yeah.
So I'm from Denver, Colorado originally. Graduated high school, went the junior college route as well. Played at Butler Community College out in Kansas. Was very blessed to move on to the Division I level at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. Played there for a year. Didn't play a ton. That's where I got hit in the face with true talent, like you talked about, and was behind a third round draft pick for the Royals behind the dish. And holy cow, that dude could hit a ball farther on one swing than I could on 4 or 5 swings put together. And he's a stud. Kale Emshoff is his name, and just tremendous person, tremendous mentor for me offensively and defensively. He could just do things that the Lord didn't bless me with the same skill sets to do. And so this was before the transfer portal really got crazy. So I transferred down to the Division II level, finished my college career and my business management degree at Pittsburgh State University. Graduated there, went back to my old junior college junior college and started coaching right away. Was there for a year during the COVID year as the catching coordinator. COVID shut everything down. I came back to Colorado. I was helping my dad run his club and training facility that was still open in some slightly smaller capacities at that point in time in Colorado, and got a call that summer during the shutdown to go and take a graduate assistant job at Colorado State Pueblo. Took that for a year. The next year, got a call to go and take the recruiting coordinator job and the pitching coach job at Regis University, another Division II up in Denver. Was there for a year, and then very blessed that following summer to get a call to go and interview and eventually take the head coaching job at Garden City Community College out in Kansas. Was there for the last 2 seasons before my wife and I had our first kiddo, and he had some health stuff that was going on that was going to force us to relocate and be in a slightly larger medical market. Be a little closer to family as well, just to have a little bit of a larger support system there. So we came back to Colorado Springs, where my wife is from. My parents still live in Denver, so about 2.5 hours north of us. So very blessed to have some family support with us. And got a call from Sports Force, Mr. Weinbrink, our founder and CEO. I had recruited a lot of Sports Force guys over my years. They just made it really easy for me with the video profiling, the data metric profiles that they have, the integrations that they had with video and Rapsodo, Blast, TrackMan, Hit Tracks, all of these different things. It made it really easy for me to recruit guys on a very small recruiting junior college budget. And
Yeah.
so when Mr. Beinbrink found that I was resigning from Garden City, he called me and offered me a job to come and be one of his advisors with Sports Force, and I've been here a little over a year now. Very blessed in the opportunities that he's given me, and love getting to work directly with a small select number of student athletes on a daily basis and help them chase the dreams that I was so blessed to live and get to do for so many years.
How awesome is that, man? What a journey. Geez, I look back at a lot of coaching journeys, and you see that kind of journeyman type vibe, right? And then for you to be able to say, you know what, I've got to take care of my family here, right? And make that decision to do what's best for you guys. That's very noble, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on with so much going on as well. So thank you for that. Now, Caleb, we're almost wrapped up here, so I want to dive into the last couple of things here. I want to dig into. So first of all, the information you shared thus far has been incredibly eye-opening for me as someone who again has not had their finger on the pulse of this space for too long, right? But for those players who are, let's say, just now entering the recruiting space, or feel as if that they're in that window for them, can you address 3 points of concern that they might need to address prior to really kind of diving into this?
Yeah, I would say that the first one that you need to address is where your skill set's at right now, and you got to go to someone that you trust that can get you a truly honest evaluation. Whether it's a club coach, a high school coach, your uncle's a scout with the Phillies, or you've got an advisor in your corner. You've got somebody that you really trust that knows the game and has seen the game at a high level. You've got to go and get your skill sets and your academics evaluated, because if you don't have baseline skill sets and you say, I want to play at Tennessee, and the baseline skill sets aren't there, you're wasting your time going to those camps and showcases if you can't project to that level. So I would say, yeah, definitely number one is getting your skill sets evaluated. The second one is, once you have those skill sets evaluated and understand where you stand and where you project, whether it's on the hill, at the dish, on defense, athletically, data metrics wise, all of these kind of things. Identify the schools that fit that mold, and identify schools that are looking for high school student athletes, whether it's the junior college level, Division I, Division II, Division III, NAI, whatever it is. You're wasting your time again if you're targeting schools and interested in schools that have proven for the last couple of years that they're going to be heavy in the transfer portal. No point in doing that. And then the third one is, you got to market yourself. You got to get your name out there. The game is so competitive. You've mentioned it on the player development and on just the competition side as a whole, playing in through youth academies and high school baseball, club baseball, into college baseball. Like, the game is so fast. It is so competitive, and the recruiting game is the exact same way. And so you've got to get your name out there. You've got to be proactive, and you got to be persistent as you go through this, with updating social media with video metrics, transcripts, and then getting in touch with college coaches, whether it's a direct message on social media, going to their camps or showcases. And at the end of the day, when the lights turn on and you're playing in a game, whether it's a high school game on a Tuesday night, or you're playing in the WWBA at Lake Point and in Atlanta, when the lights turn on, you got to be ready to go, and you got to have all your ducks in a row, player development wise, recruiting and marketing wise, so that you have nothing else to worry about, and it's just time to go execute and play at a high level.
Wow, man. That's so good, guys. That's gold there for you recruits who are working through this process, high school coaches who are listening to this. Some really good stuff for you guys there too. So special thank you to Caleb. Caleb, this has been awesome. Shout out Valley Sporting Goods, Heater Sports. Thanks again to the Baseball Blue Book Network for partnering with us. Caleb, this has been a blast, dude. Thanks for making the time to come on and sharing your knowledge with us.
Absolutely. And we look forward to having you on the Sports Force podcast, College Recruiting Confidential, and fired up to talk player development. I enjoy the recruiting side, but holy cow, player development is just, I love listening to good baseball people talk player development. So
I dig it, Caleb. I dig it. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We will catch you next time.